Hi, everybody. This is Dina Pakwa of EmbodyTheSacred.net, and I just wanted to let folks know because I know a lot of folks have kindly been following the stories about our dog Lexi, who has had epilepsy for the last year and a half, and she went through pancreatitis and really rebounded and was doing so well. But if you don't follow me on social media, unfortunately, we lost her this past Friday night, just a few days ago, to status epilepticus, which is when someone or a animal person goes into an epileptic seizure, and the seizure just continues. It doesn't stop. So we had emergency protocols that we used. They didn't work. Um, and I could tell by the severity of the seizures, they were way beyond anything that she had before, even with being on really um, heavy medication. She was on, pretty major medication every day, and she was doing really great on it. And since we started that back in February, when she ended up in ICU the first time, she was pretty stable. So she had maybe a few breakthrough seizures, and they were very mild. So this was like completely unexpected. And it really kind of felt like she was just ripped out of our lives very, abruptly. And it was just beyond horrible. Um, but I just wanted to share with folks, what that process has been like and, where it's sort of bringing me, from the spiritual perspective and all of that. Um, So Lexi, we adopted her back in 2018 in the beginning of March, and she was born in 2017 down in Texas, and she was born a week after our dog, one of our cattle dogs, Cody, passed. And Cody really was another heart dog for me, just like Lexi was a heart dog for me. Like Cody, even though my partner Keith raised our two cattle dogs, Cody and Patches, who both died in 2017, um, I never thought I would recover from losing Cody. Like, he was with me all the time. He would wrap himself around my chair. Cattle dogs have like these human eyes and the way he would look at me. And he also got very sick, and we had to tend to him quite a bit at the end of his life. So, recovering from losing him was really hard. And, so we ended up getting Lexi in 2018. And we also have another rescue, Charlie, that we got to keep Patch's company before she passed. So we had Lexi and Charlie. They both got along great. And Lexi just like burst into our hearts, like right from the beginning of her coming into our household. And we didn't know, but she came into our house in March of 2018. And then my dad passed away day after his birthday in July 2018. And Lexi was just like this burst of love. Uh, like I said, got along great with Charlie. She just was so happy and bouncy and joyful all the time. And she really became like the heart and center of our household. And she really helped my mom navigate through the loss of my dad. And she helped all of us. And then in February 2021, she started having seizures. And we brought her to several different vets. She ended up at Guardian down in Brewster, who are absolutely excellent. And that's where she ended up spending ICU time twice this year for the epilepsy. She went into status epilepticus for the first time in February of this year. And then she ended up with pancreatitis in April, and she almost died those two times, and came back like amazing recovery, doing her chipmunk hunting in the backyard, running at full throttle. I have several videos up on Instagram and Facebook of her doing her chipmunk hunting, and, just full of life, full of vibrancy. And I am just so grateful, even though it was thousands of dollars and really, difficult for us financially, with the vet bills. But for her to have that time to be in this state of just complete joy, and for us to be in complete joy, seeing her like that, it's like she lived a lifetime in 4 months. And I just felt like yesterday watching her, thinking about her and envisioning her in the yard, and just how much love and vibrancy she had. It's like her light was just too strong for her physical body. It was almost like she was short circuiting with those seizures. And it was like she just sort of burned out her physical body. And it was just so hard because she was only 5 years old. We've never lost a pet that young. I know people lose pets much younger. People lose children, which is a horror that can't even compare to anything else. And I was trying to process, well, how can, it sucks like to not even be able to prepare for losing a loved one. Like, how do we process that? And it's part of life here on this planet. Like this planet it can be a violent place, right? We have war, we have, gun violence. And it's like, people lose loved ones unexpectedly to heart attacks. It's like we just don't know. And what I'm glad about for us was that we didn't live in fear of this happening. We really enjoyed our time with her and really just loved her to the fullest. We did, of course, carry a lot of low grade anxiety and fear that something could happen, like if she missed her meds or something like that, of having another seizure, but not going into this phase that she went into Friday night. So we're just, we're honoring her grief. We're taking time for that. And, it's enormous. Like I couldn't even open my eyes on Saturday. My eyes were so swollen and just a mess. And, we're doing our fair share of crying. And, I went out into my yard where Lexi spent so much time and playing and chipmunk chasing and squirrel chasing on occasion in the backyard. And, being a shamanic practitioner and spiritual practitioner, I believe that there are all these nature spirits and beings out there who helped to keep her safe and kept her company and kept, watch over all of us. So I went around the yard and I gave offerings to the spirits of the land and the nature spirits and just thanked them for watching over our beloved girl. And it's just going to be that process, right? I've always said this, that love, that great love that we have for our pets, for parents to have for their children, and that we might even have for, a grandparent or just celebrating the fact that we could open our hearts to that extent and love that being so unconditionally and allowing them to love us in return. It's one of the greatest gifts of life. And we don't get to choose how long we have that person or that pet in our lives. We don't. We have to surrender. And in fact, I was the same day that Lexi passed, I was writing about surrendering. Being an energy healer and a spiritual practitioner, we do not get to choose who and when someone heals. We don't. It's really, if you're a spiritual practitioner, it's not in your hands. It's in the hands of the divine. It's in the hands of that person's soul's path. We can ask. I'm not afraid to ask. I do ask. I ask for healing. I ask for someone to be relieved of their suffering. I ask for, my dogs to be healthy. But it's ultimately not in my hands. We can do all the things. We gave Lexi her medication. We took her to the vet. She was in ICU twice. She had the best vet care that we know of, in this area. We don't have control. That's the thing. We can do the things. It's important to do whatever we can. But ultimately, we don't have the choice or the control. And we have to surrender that that life is a mystery. My indigenous teachers, some of them, the Q'ero of Peru, who live in the high Andes, many of them have lost several children at a young age because of the very harsh conditions. That's getting better now because there's more conventional medicine and support that's going into them thanks to groups like the Heart Walk Foundation that are bringing that in. But they have had a very high infant mortality rate. One of my teachers, Don Mariano, he lost 6 out of his 7 children. 6 out of 7. and they have a different view of life and death, that their individual life is not as important as we view it here in the West. It's more the collective and the community that needs to go on and survive. Of course, they grieve and they get upset, when they lose somebody, but it's sort of a bigger picture of, life and death transition. So, of course, we're missing her tremendously, and there's a huge void here, and it's going to take a while for us to work through that. But, for me, it's always been my faith that has helped me through really challenging times. I had a friend say, "Oh, it's because you have parents," and well, my dad's dead. My mom's 90 and she does what she can. She's been supportive in certain ways, and in other ways she can't because it's just, some things I've done and the way I live my life is completely out of her, belief system. So, a lot of the difficult things, the hardest things in my life, I've had to go through not alone because there have been people around me, and Keith and I have each other, thank goodness, and we have Charlie, our little baby boy, but we're each grieving in our own way. There are losses, things I've been through too, besides losing Lexi, that I really had to rely on my faith, on my belief in a bigger picture, in the great mystery of life, that we have multiple lifetimes, that our pets do cross over into the spirit world and are in a good place, and that they could come back again. I felt like Lexi picked up on a lot of traits of Patches, uh, who, was with us as one of our cattle dogs. So, it's really that love doesn't die. That love doesn't die. You know, I learned that, and it's very hard when it feels like it's gone. I think that's the hard thing is when we don't feel it the way that we did it so tangibly. But I do believe that God, the universe, will find a conduit for that love for us to just be open to it, do the heart healing, do the grief work. And when the time is right at some point in the future, that great love will return to us again. So I just wanted to share this story with you and thank you all for your support, for the donations, for the prayers, for the Reiki. All of it helped. We had an amazing journey with our baby girl, and I know a lot of people also um, got some inspiration from her as well. So thanks so much for listening.